Okay. Isaiah chapter 53. Who has believed our report? And to whom is the arm of Yahweh revealed? For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of a dry ground. He has no form, no comeliness, and when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. He is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief, and we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows. Yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of Elohim, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisements of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. The title of this is Believe It or Not. What does Yahweh say? In many cases, we look to man first for answers before we even turn to Yahweh. Yahweh tells us he will supply every need we have. In Philippians 4, verse 19, but my Elohim shall supply all your needs according to his riches and glory by Messiah Yeshua. Now notice, Yahweh has obliged himself only to the extent of our needs. That would include food and clothing and shelter and companionship and love and salvation through Yeshua Messiah. It would not include the luxuries that we have come to think of as needs. Yahweh states that his grace is sufficient for us. In 2 Corinthians 12:19, and he said unto me, my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Messiah may rest upon me. And sufficient is defined as this: the amount of something that is enough for a particular purpose. Yeshua's grace is the right amount to cover all of my weaknesses. Yahweh proclaims that his children will not be overtaken with temptation. Instead, he assures us that a way of escape will be provided. This promise is recorded in 1 Corinthians 10, verse 13. There has no temptation taken you but such as is common to man, but Elohim is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that you are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that you may be able to bear it. Jude also wrote in Jude chapter 1, verse 24, now unto him that is able to keep you from falling, and to present you faultless before the presence of his glory with exceedingly joy. Darius, king of the Medes, said to Daniel in Daniel 6, verse 16, then the king commanded, and they brought Daniel and cast him into the den of lions. Now the king spoke and said unto Daniel, thy Elohim, whom thou servest continually, he will deliver thee. He did deliver Daniel from the den of lions. The same Elohim that delivered Daniel is the same Elohim that is in our midst today. Yahweh tells us that all things work together for good to those who love and serve him faithfully. Romans 8:28, and you know that all things work together for good to them that love Yahweh, to them who are the called according to his purpose. It may be difficult for us to see and understand how this is accomplished at times, but Yahweh has promised it, and he will deliver. If he said it, he will do, and if he spoke it, he will bring it to pass. Our Elohim will not fail us. Lamentations 3:22, it is of Yahweh's mercies that we are not consumed, because his compassions fail not. His compassions, they fail not. Remember the old song, "Great is your faithfulness, Lord, unto me"? Do you need to get somewhere? Yahweh can part the waters for you. Are you on your way to the lion's den? Yahweh can shut the lion's mouth for you. Are your spiritual batteries about dead? Yahweh can revive you again. Yahweh states that those who believe in Yeshua for the forgiveness of sins will be saved. There is no other way into his kingdom but through Yeshua. Repent and be baptized in the name of Yahweh and his son Yeshua. Any other teachings or other religions that does not recognize Yeshua as the Savior of humanity, that religion is a false religion, period. One of the many problems with our generation is we have stopped preaching the stake or his death and the conviction of sin to try to cater to everyone and get that numbers built up. I'd much rather minister to 20 who believe the Bible as Yahweh's word than to 500 lukewarm. There are ministers that say that his goal is to make everybody feel comfortable. It's time for churches in America to stop being places of entertainment and start being places of deliverance. I wonder what would happen in these mega churches if John the Baptist came back to be their senior pastor. Yahweh proclaims that we have victory over death. He first resurrected Yeshua by way of assuring our resurrection. And Peter said in Acts 2, verse 32, "This Yeshua has Yahweh raised up, whereof we all are witnesses." Paul wrote in 1 Corinthians 15:3, "For I delivered unto you first of all that which I also received, how that Messiah died for our sins according to the Scriptures, and that he was buried, and that he rose again the third day according to the Scriptures." Later on he adds in 1 Corinthians 15, verse 57, "But thanks be to Elohim, which gives us the victory through our Master Yeshua Messiah." When he can view death the way Messiah sees death, death is a victorious event. Death is the promotion process to our eternal state. Every day that goes by, my hunger for his kingdom grows stronger. Have you seen the arm of Yahweh? Jeremiah 32:17, "Ah, Master Yahweh, behold, thou hast made the heavens and the earth by thy great power and stretched out arm, and there is nothing too hard for thee." We need to begin to start speaking with our mouth that there is nothing too hard for Yahweh. Has the arm of Yahweh been revealed to you? If it has, never allow the enemy to silence your testimony of Yahweh's faithfulness. Isaiah 59, verse 1, "Behold, Yahweh's hand is not shortened, that it cannot save, neither is his ear heavy, that it cannot hear." There are no shortages with Yahweh. Another promise that Yeshua gives us is that his ear is always open to my cry. A powerful scripture about how Yahweh values our prayer is found in Revelation. Revelation 8, verse 3, "And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne." He borne our griefs and carried our sorrows. Isaiah has in view how the Messiah took our pain upon himself. He made our griefs his own and our sorrows as if they were his. Isaiah 53, verse 3, "He is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrow and acquainted with grief. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not." The image is that he loaded them up and carried them on his back so that we wouldn't have to. How many people carry around pain, griefs, and sorrow that Yeshua really carried for them? He took them from us, But for it to do us any good, we must release them to Yeshua Messiah. Everything that we may ever need in life was covered with Messiah's atonement, anointment. By his stripes we are healed. I'm told there are 39 major categories in the medical profession that claim every single disease known to man around the world, from the common cold all the way to the HIV. So you see, Yeshua took a stripe for whatever has been or will be wrong with you, and by his stripes you are healed. In John chapter 9, starting in verse 1, and as Yeshua passed by, he saw a man which was blind from his birth, and his disciples asked him, saying, Master, who did sin, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Yeshua answered, Neither has this man sinned, nor his parents, but that the works of Yahweh should be made manifest in him. I must work the works of him that sent me, while it is day. The night comes when no man can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. When he has thus spoken, he spat on the ground and made clay of the spittle. And he anointed the eyes of the blind man with the clay, and said unto him, Go wash in the pool of Siloam, which is by interpretation, sent. He went his way, therefore, and washed, and came seeing. The neighbors, therefore, and they which before had seen him, that he was blind, said, Is this not he that sat and begged? Some said, This is he. Others said, He's like him. But he said, I am he. Therefore said they unto him, How were thy eyes opened? And he answered and said, A man that is called Yeshua made clay, and anointed my eyes, and said unto me, Go to the pool of Siloam, and wash. And I went and washed, and I received my sight. There's something in all of us that would like to have the ability and the opportunity to make a difference in someone else's life. Reality shows like Three Wishes or Extreme Makeover Home Edition bring out the best of people, and in a human kind of way perform miracles. These miracles are not true miracles, but they're amazing and wonderful occurrences. A true miracle is a marvelous event manifesting a supernatural act of Yahweh. I love the fact that I am a member of a church that believes in miracles. We believe that Yahweh's supernatural power is still available for people in need. Most of us would like miracles to take place in our lives, but if you are like me, you don't want to be in a place to need a miracle. Nobody wants to be in need. We don't want to have to go through a situation where answers are not known and solutions are not evident. But there will come a time where you will find yourself in a place of need. The questions at that point will be, where do you turn for help? Or how do you find the answers that you need? I want to talk to you about the miracle worker named Yeshua, the Son of Yahweh. His story is told in the New Testament sections of the Bible. The first 4 books, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, are called the Gospels. Good news. They describe his life and his work. Matthew 21, verse 22, And all things whatsoever you shall ask in prayer, believing, you shall receive. If you believe, you will receive whatever you ask for in prayer. It's my goal to help you come to the place where you can honestly say, I believe. Some of you are like the man whose son was hurting. Yeshua said to him in Mark 9, verse 23, And Yeshua said unto him, If thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believes. And straightway the father of the child cried out and said with tears, Master, I believe. Help thou my unbelief. 9:23, the last part, anything is possible if a person believes. In verse 24, the father instantly replied, I do believe, but help me not to doubt. I cannot tell you how many times I prayed a similar prayer. Yahweh, I know that you are able to do this. Every time I pray, I know he's able to do this. But will you do it for me? Will you answer my prayer? Well, anything is possible if a person believes. What if I had some doubts? You're normal. We all struggle with periods of doubt. If you have never doubted anything, it may mean that you have never thought seriously about anything. The only way to never doubt is to never use your mind to question and try to figure anything out. Doubting does not mean that your faith stops. It means you are trying to understand your faith at a deeper level. Honest doubt means that you are thinking and seeking to understand. Maybe that's why you are here today. You're investigating his word, the Bible. You have your doubts. But those doubts are making you want to know more about Yahweh and experience him in new ways. I want to focus on the story in the book of John, chapter 9, I just read to you. This story is somewhat perplexing. It's a story about a man who was born blind. Yeshua and his disciples ran into him one day in Jerusalem, and immediately his disciples asked, "Why? Why is this man blind? What? Was it his fault or his parents' fault?" John 9, verse 1, and Yeshua passed by. He saw a man which was blind from birth. And the disciples asked him, saying, "Master, who did sin, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" Yeshua answered, "Neither has this man sinned nor his parents, but that the works of Yahweh should be made manifest in him. I must work the works of him that sent me while it is day. The night comes when no man can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world." It probably didn't occur to the disciples this man was blind, but he was not deaf. He could hear their conversation. Imagine you're sitting there blind. Your life is bad enough already, and you hear these theologians say, his sin or his parents' sin. What do you think? Have you ever felt like people were looking at you and saying, "How did he get into this mess? What did he do? Is it his fault or someone else's fault?" Yeshua responds by saying that this has happened not because of his sin or his parents' sin, but this has happened so that Yahweh can be glorified. I know that sounds deeply spiritual, but if you are that man, that doesn't sound all that exciting. It's like the blind man was saying, "I'm blind so Yahweh can be glorified." Good for him. I'm glad I could help out. I've made my contribution to the glory of Yahweh, but I want to see. Now, I know it sounds a little sacrilegious, but if you were blind your entire life and were confused about Yahweh, that thought would probably run through your mind. Then Yeshua goes into a teaching moment with his disciples, and he said, "We are all chasing daylight. We live in the world, and we have to work in the world while it is light. We have to do those things that Yahweh has given us to do while we are here in this world. Night is coming when no one will work." Then it gets more confusion. Yeshua pauses, and he is going to heal the guy. Now, there are places in the Bible where Yeshua heals people by touching them. In some places, he just speaks to them and says, "Be healed." This time is different. Yeshua does something out of the ordinary. Are you willing for Yahweh to do something out of the ordinary in your life? Too many times we see how Yahweh has worked in someone else's life, and we say, "I need your help, and I need you to help me like you did for my friend." I believe that Yahweh wants to help you, but you must allow him to work in his own way. He has a plan for your life. That plan will be different than the plan he had for someone else. Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the thoughts that I think towards you, says Yahweh, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. Another version says, for I know the plans I have for you, declares Yahweh, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. The question is, will you allow Yahweh to do something out of the box in your life? Before you say yes, let's take another look at this blind man's story. John 9, verse 6, when he had thus spoken, he spat on the ground and made clay of the spittle, and he anointed the eyes of the blind man with the clay. How much spit does it take to make mud? That's a lot of spit. I know what you're thinking when you read this passage. Well, that's Yeshua's spit. Spit is spit. This spit was from Elohim's human son. Yahweh did not spit outside of time and space. So Yeshua spit and made some mud, and then he goes towards the blind man. Can you imagine what the crowd was thinking? They were thinking, stop him, someone. Having said this, he spit on the ground, made some mud with the saliva, and put it on the man's eyes. Yeshua takes the mud and places it on the guy's face. I know that when you read the Bible and I read the Bible, we tend to read it like we were Yeshua or at least one of the disciples. But imagine if you were that blind guy. You hear people saying, why is he in this mess? Is it his fault or his parents? Then Yeshua takes spit and dirt and makes mud and puts it on your face. After Yeshua puts the mud on his face, he says to the guy, go, he told them, wash in the pool of Siloam. This word means sent. John 9:7, he said unto him, go wash in the pool of Siloam, which is by interpretation sent. He went his way therefore and washed and came seeing. I may not be a great theologian here, but I think about it. He is blind. How he is supposed to get to the pool of Siloam? Even if he were not blind, he would have mud on his eyes and would not be able to see. Yeshua does not even offer to help him. Do you ever feel that way? Have you ever felt like Yeshua called you to do something and then did not offer you any help? There are moments in my life where I feel like I am the blind guy and people are talking about me saying, what caused me to be in this mess? Is it his fault or his parents? Why is he so messed up? Why is his life like this? Then you hear that it has all happened to glorify Yahweh. It's not very encouraging. Then you find yourself in a place where you feel like you got mud on your face. Have you ever been there? You are trying to lead. You're trying to be effective. You're trying to really rally people together. You're trying to build confidence and call people to an extraordinary life. And you just got spit and dirt kicked on your face. Then Yeshua said to the blind man, go to the pool of Siloam. Seems to me that at least Yeshua could have taken him there, or at least told one of his disciples to take him there. Yeshua said, go, and does not offer any help. Now here's the point of the talk today. Notice this. John mentions that the word Siloam means sent. What Yeshua is doing here is unwrapping a teaching for all of us. We all must go to that place where we are sent by Yahweh. We need to go to that place of obedience. We may be blind, with mud caked on our faces, stumbling through the streets, uncertain, confused and terrified, but we have to go. There are some things that Yahweh does for us, but there are some things that Yahweh leaves for us to do. If this blind man wanted to see, he had to get to the pool of Siloam. But Yeshua was not going to help him to get there. Have you ever been there? I have. Some of you have been called by Yahweh to do certain things, but it seems as though you have been left on the road to fend for yourself. Some of you feel as though you are moving through life with Yahweh's spit and mud covering your face. It doesn't make sense to you or the people around you. But down deep inside you have been commanded to go to the place called sent. All of us have mud on our faces. And we are called to go to the place called sent. It's a place of obedience. It's a place of direction. Some of you have been greatly gifted by Yahweh, and you have great potential, but you may be headed in the wrong direction. Some of you might be spiritually blind. You are wandering around trying to find direction. Your eyes will not be open until you are willing to go to that place of obedience. You have lived in disobedience long enough. Proverbs 14:12, there is a way which seems right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. Many people try to justify their lifestyles. They want to rationalize their choices. You must understand that your choices determine your destiny. Yeshua told this blind man to go to the pool of Siloam. Now the pool of Siloam was built by King Hezekiah 700 years earlier. It had the purest and best tasting water in the whole city of Jerusalem. But that's not why Yeshua sent him there. He sent him there because he wanted to know, will this man obey my exact instructions? Is he teachable? Is he open to leading of the Spirit of Elohim in his life? Will he do what I tell him to do, even if it sounds far-fetched? The first step towards having a better life starts with a willingness to obey Messiah in all the little details of life. This man was willing, and so he washed, and he could see again. John 9:7, he said unto him, go wash in the pool of Siloam, which is by interpretation sent. He went his way therefore, and washed, and came seeing. The neighbors, therefore, and they which before had seen him, that he was blind, said, is not this he that sat and begged? Some said, this is he, and others said, it's like him. And then he said, I am he. Therefore said they unto him, how were thy eyes opened? He answered and said, a man that is called Yeshua made clay, and anointed my eyes, and said unto me, go to the pool of Siloam and wash. And I went and washed, and I received sight. Many of you are here today, and you want Yahweh to move in your life. I believe in miracles. I believe that Elohim of miracles is here today. The blind man told his neighbors, so I went and washed, and then I could see. Are you willing to do what Yahweh tells you to do? If you're willing to step out in faith, surrender to his plan, then you will work his work and accomplish it in your life. And there's an interesting ending to this story. The blind man had never seen Yeshua. And since Yeshua did not go to the pool with him, he did not know what he looked like. Yeshua found him just after the religious interrogated him for being healed. How dare he? John 9:35, Yeshua heard that they had cast him out because he was healed. They threw him out of church. And when he had found him, he said unto him, dost thou believe in the Son of Yahweh? He answered and said, who is he, Master, that I might believe on him? Yeshua said unto him, thou hast both seen him, and it is he that talks with you. He said, Master, I believe. And he worshipped him. So, I've shared with you the story of Yeshua and his miracle working power. Do you believe? Yahweh bless.